Welcome to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series, brought to you by the CT Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. We're having a conversation about work-life balance, how to navigate and overcome challenges within your career, and how to make business more accommodating to a diverse workforce.
Hello, my name is Sadam Rivera. I'm currently a Master of Science in Accounting student here at the Bauer College of Business. Today I have the honor of being joined by Sheryl Jimerson. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your story?
Yes. Again, my name is Sheryl Jimerson. I attended University of Houston. I started in 95 and got my bachelor's in finance in 99. Took a little break, then came back and got my master's of business administration with a focus in accounting in 2002. Currently, I have my own practice. It's tax focused, so compliance and IRS representation. And I also teach at Lone Star College. I teach the tax and accounting courses there.
Oh, that's pretty nice. That's a lengthy resume, if I might say so. Can we go back to your time in college? I want to focus first on the undergrad. Can you tell me the process of you starting college and then going throughout your undergrad career?
Yes. So I had some offers to go to other colleges. I really prefer University of Houston because I wanted to be kind of close to home, but also to be able to work and things like that. And it turned out to be a blessing because I got a scholarship with the Jesse Jones Scholarship and also a couple of other scholarships. So financially, it was very rewarding for me to go here, and I appreciate, the scholarships that kind of helped me make it through. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do as far as a major. I knew it had to do with numbers because I always loved numbers. I can remember as a kid laying in the bed and looking at the clock and dividing, 12 by 48 and all those kind of things. So I knew it had to do something with accounting. So accounting and finance was where I focused there.
Was there a particular time that you can remember or a situation in which you were like, okay, this is really what I want to do. This is why I want to do this career?
So it kind of changed over time, based on my maturity level and the things that I've learned, it just kind of changed over time. I was really drawn into tax. I was working for EOG Resources, oil and gas company downtown, and I was working in financial reporting. And then I transitioned over to tax, and I just fell in love with tax and started doing it from there. So that was all she wrote.
What made you come back to get your MBA?
I told myself when I was done with my bachelor's that I was done with school. But I always had a desire to learn more, lifelong learning. Still to this day, I'm always interested in learning more. So I figured, why not? So I came back and finished up with my MBA.
Nice. With your experience in corporate America, what do the words diversity and inclusion mean to you?
Diversity and inclusion, that's being able to include everybody at the table, right? So no matter what your skin color is, no matter what your gender is, we all have different talents and different skills that we can bring to the table, and just appreciating those skills and differences in order to move toward the same goal.
You mentioned that you do have your own practice.
Yes.
How did that process happen, or where did you start, and how has it been throughout time, and where is it at right now?
So I transitioned over from corporate, and then I started teaching. And so since I was already learning about tax and things like that, I had my practice on the side, but I set up an accounting firm with the Texas Society of CPAs a couple of years ago. So instead of just working as a CPA, sole proprietor, I set up a firm and started working through there. And so it was challenging for me, and I enjoy that because my husband says it's never the same thing with me. It's always something different. So it was good because I was working with business development. Of course, when you have your own business, you're in business development, marketing, customer service. And so it's grown from there. I always like to treat my customers with respect and integrity. So if I say I'm going to do something, I make sure I get it done. And that's the best customer service that you can provide, is just doing what you say you're going to do in an ethical way, right?
Of course, being held accountable for your promises.
Absolutely, yeah.
In your opinion, what was the hardest challenge when it came to starting your own practice?
Business development. I'm very much an introvert. I would love to be at home reading and quiet, and so just being able to put myself out there, that was the hardest thing, because it's not my nature. But just thinking of the fact that I can really help somebody, that drives me. Okay. Because the skills that I have can really be of help to someone else. And so if I'm not vocal about what I can provide, then I'm not helping that person, which I probably could help.
Do you have any tips for other introverts that are also struggling to find that passion, to have them go outside their comfort zone?
I would say challenge yourself. For me, it was more of when I started teaching, I never thought I would teach before. It was like, I don't want to stand in front of people. I don't want to do it. But I just kind of grew into that role, and I found the passion in that. And so if it's something that you're really passionate about, I would say challenge yourself. Always I'm looking at challenging whatever fears that I have. So my fear was public speaking. So now, I'm teaching classes, and now I'm doing a podcast or a video cast. And so never thought I would be there, but just challenging those fears and getting better over time.
When it came to facing those fears and challenges and being able to overcome them, how important was it for you to have a support system that was there for you whenever you needed advice, or for them to help you push through all of these challenges and obstacles?
Very important. So my faith is strong. I always pray for the power that I do not have, in order to get the things done that I need to do. But also my husband's a big encouragement to me. He is the absolute other extreme for me. And so he pushes me to do what I dream of doing. Whatever it is that I have in my heart that I want to do, he tells me I can do it. You can do it. And he said, I see things in you that you can't see. And so that's super important. And I see things in my students that they don't see too. So it's kind of like having someone to say, you can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always very important to have somebody that can tell you or make you believe in yourself, because there's sometimes when you yourself is going to limit everything you can do, because you're like, I'm not fit for this position. Absolutely. Or this is not something for me, or I do not belong in this area.
I don't belong, yeah. And so even if you don't have someone in your corner that supports you, I would say reflect on your goals. Look how far you've come already, and you didn't think you would make it this far. And so as you continue to go on and see those things that you never thought you'd be able to do, and that kind of drives you to do more.
Of course. Yeah. So the phrase that I said a little bit ago was, I don't belong. Since you have your own practice, you, as in charge of management, I believe that you play a key role in making people feel like they belong.
Absolutely.
in your firm.
Yeah.
What kind of steps are you taking in order to have everybody at your practice feel like they belong, or they're all here for the same reason?
I try to look at whatever strengths that person brings to the table. Like, everybody's different, very detail oriented or very outspoken. How can you use that to drive your career, right? So, and then I also challenge their fears too. So I had one of my employees that worked for me, and she was terrified of talking to people on the phone. That was just not what she did. She's not from the United States. She's from Korea. And so she was not comfortable with that. No, let's do it. Just make a quick call. Just say this, and then you're done. And so helping others to kind of challenge their fears too, and just moving past. And so, again, I always like to, bring out people's strengths. How did this go for you? How did this go for you? Everybody's different, and they all have different things that helps them feel successful.
Living in the city of Houston, and more specifically being an alum from the University of Houston, how did all the diversity that this campus has impacted you once you graduated and went into the corporate world?
It was good, because what I saw in the classroom is what I see out in the field. I mean, whether I'm in corporate or having my own practice or teaching, that's what the real world is like. So being able to work with different cultures and that's what real life is like. So that kind of prepared me to sit at a table with people who didn't look like me, or who didn't grow up like I grew up, and being able to still provide and be of an asset to the conversation.
I want to focus now on your teaching career. As an accountant, more specifically as a tax person, I'm a tax person myself too. There is this big, I believe, misconception about tax accountants when it's like you're gonna be on your desk and this is a position for introvert people. But now that you're into teaching, I believe that's the complete opposite of that view of tax accountants.
It is. And it wasn't what I expected. I expected to be sitting at a desk or in my office with the door closed. But as you move up in your career, then you're seeing yourself in meetings more than sitting at your desk, right? So you've already learned how to do all the numbers piece. Now you're grooming others or helping others and guiding them into leadership, because you're at the table with other managers talking about what's going on with the company. What do we need to do for accounting purposes, for tax purposes, and things like that. So you're no longer sitting at the desk by yourself. You're sitting at a table with other people. Yeah.
As a professor, I believe the teaching area itself is a very selfless career because now you're giving knowledge to others. What motivated you, or what was the moment when you realized it's time for me to give back to other people?
Well, I've always been that kind of person. My mom raised me that way. She worked for United Way for years. And so she's always taught me to be selfless, but I didn't think of it in that aspect. I thought of it as volunteering. But the role that I play as a teacher, as a professor, and just realizing the impact that I have on an individual, are you encouraging that person and seeing the light bulb go off. That's the thing that all teachers love, is just to see that light bulb go off and like, oh, they get it, and it's just a feeling that I can't describe. It's good for me. It's good for them.
You're looking at teaching as you making an impact in others. There's been a time when one of your students made an impact on you.
The impact on me, I would think, is I received an email from a former student, and she told me how I impacted her life. And knowing her background and where she had come from, that meant a lot to me, that I could have an impact on her. And so that pushed me to do more. That pushed me to think beyond what I thought my limitations were, right? If she can move past her limitations, I can too, right? So yeah, it was reciprocal. So loved it.
Speaking of giving back, I did get a chance to see that starting on fall 2020, you will have your own scholarship endowment. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. So, the tax career is a very financially rewarding career. And thinking back a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm so blessed. I'm just so blessed. And so I had extra money. Nobody has extra money, right?
Yeah,
that's what they don't say. But I made a choice that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest in somebody else's education, like somebody invested in me. And that was really important to me, to be able to help somebody else like I was helped. It's paying it forward, and hopefully that person or those people, whoever received the scholarship, they'll be able to pay it forward as well, because it's all about helping other people. Yeah.
Before the first scholarship recipient gets to receive that scholarship, I just want to thank you ahead of time, just because me being a scholarship recipient myself, I know of the impact and how much you can change the life of a person. For them being able to, from them going from not being able to afford school to now having it paid for, or at least having helped. It really means a lot, and I just can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing.
You're very welcome.
Speaking of giving back, I want to know a little bit more about what values mean the most to you.
Absolutely integrity, being ethical. That's very important. People trust you, and so if they trust me, and it's important that I maintain that trust by doing the right thing. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't do the right thing. When I can sleep at night and said I did the best I can do, then I know I did the best I can do. Then I can sleep well. Because if there's nothing else that I can do to fulfill a promise that I've made, that's okay. Tomorrow's another day. But, if I'm cutting corners and things like that, that just doesn't work for me. So ethics, grit is something that I've had to learn over time as I've grown older, is not to give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. Once you get past that bump in the road, you're going to have another bump. You just keep going and, just make the best of everything that's put in front of you.
With the answer, you just reminded me of a quote. There's no shortcuts in life.
Nope.
It's going to be a long, bumpy road, but
Absolutely.
getting to the finish line, I believe it's going to be the most rewarding thing ever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you could tell your college self, this is where you're going to be today in the future, what would you have thought of that answer? What would have been your reaction?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. That I would never have expected my life to turn out the way it did. I mean, there are lots of detours, lots of things that I didn't expect. But I'm so happy that it turned out the way that it did. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for any college student here at University of Houston, or just another college student in general? Any advice that you could give them?
I would say be teachable. Always be teachable. I will never know everything there is to know about taxes. It's just too big. But there's just being teachable. People love teachable people, because that's how you grow. Another thing is balancing humility with confidence. Right? Remain humble, but also being confident in the abilities that you already have. That'll take you far. Being able to explain your accomplishments, not in a bragging way, but just to say, these are the things that I've done and I'm willing to do more. Those are the two big things that I would say.
Thank you so much for joining me today. You've been a great person. With this short conversation, I see you as a role model.
Thank you so much.
And like I said before, I really appreciate everything you're doing for the school and for the upcoming students.
Thank you.
And once again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series from the CT Bauer College of Business, brought to you by the Inclusive Leadership Initiative. The initiative aims to develop inclusive leaders and family-friendly cultures that support business strategy and superior business performance. For more information about Bauer and this podcast series, visit www.bauer.uh.edu/podcast.